An ancient land, rich in rivers, lakes, glaciers and rolling grasslands. A point of entry over the Himalayas into the subcontinent. Invaded by many, occupied by some, ruled by a few. In the early 19th century, when Gulab Singh had consolidated Kashmir as his kingdom from the British, he had eventually made them his overlords, so he could keep his territory. In 1947, in place of the British, Hari Singh, the scion of the Dogra dynasty, had to deal with two possible overlords, India and Pakistan. Could the arrangement that had kept his forefathers on the throne for 100 years keep him and his progeny on it for another 100? Did the old treaties of Chusul and Amritsar that defined the borders of the Dogra dynasty still hold today? Kashmir's destiny was up for grabs, and history was in the making. India, at the stroke of midnight, 14th August 1947.
Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge.
It was a destiny that was proving difficult to handle, because with independence came partition. The subcontinent was split in two, creating an Islamic Pakistan and a secular but predominantly Hindu India. What followed was an exodus of Hindus from the newly formed Islamic State to India, and Muslims from the new Indian territory to Pakistan. The flow of refugees to both sides was violent and bloody. While the subcontinent was in the throes of birthing of nations, Kashmir was in a state of confusion. Should she accede with one of the new nations or stay sovereign? To understand what Kashmir was at that point, we need to go back. (1925). To when Hari Singh became the Hindu king of a state with 77% Muslim population. Those were the days when nationalism was trending all through the subcontinent against British rule. However, in Jammu and Kashmir, it is directed at the Maharaja. The 1930s sees a political party, the Muslim Conference, formed by a young Kashmiri, Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah, that demands social and political reforms. Soon, the party is renamed the National Conference to include all Kashmiris. But when Pakistan an Islamic state becomes a strong possibility. Some of its followers, unhappy with the secular nature of the party and with Sheikh Abdullah, revives the Muslim Conference. Together, both parties launch a Quit Kashmir movement against the monarchy.
The long suppressed soul of Kashmir, I would say, had a cry of anguish virtually in 1931 when there was a regularization of the protest with the formation of a resistance movement in Kashmir, which has passed through various stages, but I would say it's still continuing.
To kill the movement, the Maharaja imprisons Sheikh Abdullah for sedition. Nehru, a political ally and fellow freedom fighter, rushes to Kashmir to demand his release. The Maharaja promptly has Nehru arrested and unceremoniously escorted out of the state. An act that would cost him dearly in the time to come.
July 1947, Mahatma Gandhi came here. Mahatma Gandhi made a trip because they probably thought that Maharaja is undecided about accession. Sheikh was in jail. I was an eyewitness. I was a student of SP College those days. In Srinagar, thousands of people had collected. They were shouting only one slogan: Baghi Abdullah ki jai. No other statement, no India, no Pakistan, nothing of the sort. No demand except one slogan: Baghi Abdullah ki jai. And I saw Gandhi putting his two fingers in his ears because it was a noise at that time of people. Gandhi is understood to have cleared the mind of Maharaja that you need not fear anybody. You decide whatever you have to. But release Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah immediately.
1947. India and Pakistan become realities. But Hari Singh, the Maharaja of Kashmir, is undecided.
Unfortunately, I think successive events overtook him. But yes, I would say he was under pressure to sign. And his initial objective was to sign standstill agreements with both India and Pakistan. That didn't work out because he felt that being a Hindu ruler of a largely Muslim majority state, he needed more time to think as to what is the best option for Jammu and Kashmir. And he didn't at the same time want to jeopardize the minority community in any manner.
The newly formed Pakistan is very keen to add Jammu and Kashmir to its territory. The reasons? Possibly the Muslim population and the 6 mighty rivers that flowed through Kashmir into Pakistan, forming the Indus River system, Pakistan's water supply. With no decision from the Maharaja, an impatient Pakistan launches Operation Gulmarg, a series of incursions aimed at annexing Kashmir. As a part of Operation Gulmarg, a Pakistan-backed no-tax uprising is instigated in the Punch region among decommissioned and serving army men, mainly Muslim. The agitation soon turns into a full-fledged genocide of minority Hindus and Sikhs in this western part of Jammu district. In retaliation, Muslims are targeted in the Jammu province by the majoritarian Hindus and Sikhs living there. The state turns into a burning cauldron of communal violence. India strongly advises the Maharaja to release Sheikh Abdullah to calm the waters.
With this development, Maharaja's releasing Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah, Pakistan probably felt that India is taking, or it is going out of our hand. Meanwhile, they sent some emissaries to Sheikh, who were his friends. They were persuading him to join Pakistan. He said, I have not made up my mind. We are fighting an independent battle. First thing is to get rid of Maharaja. Second is that whosoever accepts our conditions of accession, we will join that dominion. If Pakistanis accept, no problem. If Indians accept, no problem.
In another parallel attack, detachments of armed Pakhtun tribals under Brigadier Akbar Khan of the Pakistani army and the local Punjabi politician Sardar Shaukat Hayat Khan invades the Kashmir Valley.
It was a very surprise attack, and Maharaja had to run away from Kashmir. He left Kashmir without any defense of Kashmir and all that, and his army led by Brigadier Rajinder Singh, it was wiped off in the very first attack up to Uri, and then it was a walkover for them. But they spent some time in Baramulla in looting and other things, so wasted time.
Meanwhile, in another development, rebels of the no-tax agitation under Sardar Ibrahim, a lawyer, declare Muzaffarabad, Mirpur and Poonch Azad Kashmir. This region is known today in India as POJK, or Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Facing attacks from multiple sides, the Maharaja turns to India and agrees to accede for military help.
It was a very tense situation that built up. At that time, when we realized that the raiders are getting close to Srinagar, and then at that stage, I think VP Menon advised my father that it's better if you move down to Jammu, because any documentation that may be required has to be done in Jammu. Then we moved down to Jammu. So it was a very tense, and the instrument of accession was signed in Jammu on the 26th of October.
In October 1947, Kashmir accedes to India. The first Kashmir Accord is signed, and India sends in an army. But was it enough to keep Kashmir whole? It was not. Tacit British interference in Kashmir adds another dimension to the problem. To understand Britain's interest, one has to go back to the 1930s, when communism had made its appearance in China. The Soviets had jumped into the Chinese Civil War, helping a faction win the Xinjiang province. This sent the British into a tizzy, as they believed the Soviets may not stop there.
You know, the British were always expecting, usually with a degree of paranoia, but and often with very little reason, but they were always half expecting a Russian army, an army of Cossacks, to be cantering down the Khyber Pass or coming down to Jammu through the valley. It never happened, but partly because I think the British were so wary of it and took so many precautions against it.
Gilgit was the last outpost of British India before the landmass merged with Xinjiang. So in 1935, the British leased Gilgit, an adjoining region, for a period of 60 years from the Maharaja. The Gilgit Agency was set up with a political agent who reported directly to the British. A Pashto-speaking army officer, Captain William Brown, was also appointed to study the land and locals.
For the British, Pakistan was a far more strategically important part of the Indian subcontinent. They wanted bases in Pakistan against the Soviet Union, as well as proximity to the Gulf, which had all the oil. So, in Pakistan, the most important portion was Kashmir, and in Kashmir was Gilgit.
As the formation of two new nations drew close, the British hoped Gilgit Agency would end up with Pakistan. But they don't want their hand in this to be known. So merely 15 days before transfer of power in 1947, the British revoked the lease and returned Gilgit to the Maharaja, as they believed the then Prime Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Ram Chandra Kak, would go with Pakistan. Kak had no affinity for the Congress. More importantly, he was on very good terms with those in power in Pakistan. The British thought it a foregone conclusion. Captain William Brown is promoted and given command of the Gilgit Scouts, a part of the Jammu Kashmir Army. All the pieces are in place. But palace intrigues in Hari Singh's court and Gandhi's view on Kak leads to his dismissal just 4 days before D-Day. British plans go up in smoke. And merely 2 months after transfer of power to the newly formed nations, Kashmir accedes to India, adding a new twist to this political page-turner. British plans for Gilgit go awry when Kashmir decides to accede to India. So they go to Plan B. A few days after the accession, Major Brown and his junior British officer in Gilgit Scouts lead the Muslim troops of the garrison to overthrow and imprison the Jammu and Kashmir governor, Ghansara Singh. They declare Gilgit and its vassal states acceded to Pakistan.
I suspect, though there's no evidence has come out so far, that a signal was sent to Major Brown on 27th or 28th of October, and he then undertook what's called the Gilgit Rebellion, arrested Ghansara Singh, and then handed over Gilgit to the British. And that's why the British rewarded him with the MBE in 1948 itself.
45 years later, the Pakistan government posthumously confer on him the Sitara-e-Pakistan, one of the nation's highest awards, giving credence to this theory. So with Punch declared Azad Kashmir and Gilgit acceded to Pakistan, Kashmir is irrevocably fractured. In this scenario, Pakistan's proxy war with tacit British understanding gains ground. The constant unrest and violence wears thin Kashmir's already shaky relationship with India. It also denies Kashmir the autonomy as promised under the instrument of accession. Nehru is aware that this would eventually affect the dynamics with Sheikh Abdullah, Kashmir's face at that time. The British are no help, perhaps because they think Pakistan a better strategic ally than India in the emerging Cold War situation with Soviet Russia.
There is no doubt from any point of view that it was aggression by Pakistan. And we were entitled in any law of fact to attack Pakistan. In order to avoid this war with Pakistan, we went to the Security Council.
Finally, Nehru approaches the United Nations.
We came here because we did not want the conflict to expand, to become more intensive, to spread into larger acts of war.
In April 1948, the UN Security Council asks Pakistan to remove all state and non-state actors from Jammu and Kashmir. India is asked to reduce its forces to minimum to maintain law and order and to install an interim government with all genuine stakeholders. After which the UN was to appoint a plebiscite administrator to understand the wishes of the people. Neither party welcomes the outcome. India had wanted UN to admonish Pakistan for interfering, and Pakistan is unhappy about the UN suggestion of plebiscite. Nevertheless, the interim government is set up, led by Sheikh Abdullah as Prime Minister and the Maharaja as titular head of state. India is glad for the reprieve, and Kashmir dares to hope for a future.
Suddenly we find that the Chinese are sitting right on our borders, breathing down our backs.